Open your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness. Hey, my name is Sifu Boggie. Sifu means guide, muse, somebody who points you along the way, who guides you on your path. Boggie is my martial art name, my spiritual name, and my healing name, and it means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness. And welcome to the Way of Conscious Mindfulness podcast. So this is, in essence, episode number 1. And what I thought I'd do is sort of explain what's going to be happening. What I've done on my podcast, every single week there'll be 2 episodes, one on a Monday and one on a Saturday. Now, the Monday episodes, I do a number of different shows, which I'll explain in a little bit. And they tend to be more 2-person shows or interviews. I have, over the last 5 years, I've interviewed lots of different people, from psychics to healers, to yoga practitioners, to qigong practitioners, to raw food practitioners. And I do have an interview show that I do, but I always give a little bit of a Daoist twist to it. Now, from that show, what happened, other shows actually formed. There was certain guests that actually became firm friends of myself and firm favourites of the audience, and other shows formed. So on a Monday, every Monday on the podcast, we will have some of the past shows, but what's going to happen in the future, they'll be recorded, always recorded live, and they will then appear on the Monday. And like I say, I'll tell you a little bit more about them in a moment. But on a Saturday, it's a sort of different flavour. I am what's called a Daoist. The Tao means the way, the path, the balance, and I will explain that more, and actually my life, in another episode. But so the Taoists have many different techniques. They have many different skills. They've got many different fingers in many different pies. I'm actually an ex-chef, so you'll hear a lot of food metaphors in the future. And so on the Saturday, it's more about the Taoist arts, the Taoist techniques. So Tao is a healing way. It is a spiritual way. It is also a martial way. But I'll be explaining the different skills, the different styles of Taoism that I actually practice. And there will actually be some special guests on a Saturday to help me do that. So in a brief little thing, that's what's going to be happening. But let me go through a little bit more of detail. So on a Monday, one of the Monday shows will be The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, which is a regular podcast show discussing spirituality and science, balancing with health and well-being, and mind, body, and spirit, with a Daoist twist. The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. Now, as a talk show, it is not a normal talk show, because I am not a normal talk show host. Each show, it will be a subject or a guest. A lot of them are guests. And my aim is to have an open discussion with that guest, finding out their skills, their techniques, and allowing you to find new skills, new techniques, new ways to balance your very own personal way, path, or Tao. So the way of the show, the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, was to interview people to find their ways, their balance, their path. And over the last 5 years, I've had, as I said right at the beginning, an awful lot of different people. I've had people, and these shows you will hear, I've had people like David Wolf, who is the food and nutrition guy, known as David Avocado Wolf, very much known for his raw food, very much a vegan and raw food practitioner. I've had him on the show. In fact, I actually did did workshops. I helped run his workshops for the last like 12 years. So he's actually a friend of mine. I've had Qigong practitioners on the show because I am a Qigong practitioner myself. I've had the mighty Barefoot Doctor, who's no longer with us. He's actually been on 2 shows. I have had Dr. Xavier Love, another awesome practitioner, American Qigong teacher, and he's been on the show a couple of times as well. And I've had other Tai Chi and Qigong masters as well on the show. I've had psychics on the show. I've had in fact, one of my good friends, the wonderful Anne Jersh, who does progression. So you heard of regression? That's going back to past lives. She actually does progression, and she goes to future lives. Now, she has actually been on the show quite a few times, and she actually even ended up being a co-host. And that is the thing on some of these shows. There are actually co-hosts that come in with me, and we've had some very awesome co-hosts in the time that I've interviewed as well, and those shows are quite wild. They're quite interesting, I will say. And so there is quite a few, shows that from the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, me interviewing other people. But like I said, a little thing happened along the way. So there was a couple of people that I actually really enjoyed working with and talking to. One of them is the awesome, the fantastic Joseph Delaney, Dr. Joseph Delaney. I call him Doc, and we actually created a monthly show called Doc and Sifu's Monthly Ponderings, where we talk about, he's also a fellow Daoist in his own way, and we talk about psychology, we talk about health and healing, and we talk about different things. And that is still a show that continues to this day. It exists, and that happens once a month. So on a Monday, that you'll see that episode. So there'll be some of the shows from the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, the interview shows. Then you'll also get to see me and Doc getting ready to rock. We having our monthly chat. We have a certain banter between the two of us. We're both British guys, and yeah, we have a certain banter. Then there's another person that I'm very fond of, and started doing shows with, Brittany, and we do a show called Brittany and Boggs One Step Beyond. Now that's sort of like an X-Files, sort of the Fringe, if you remember the Fringe or X-Files. It's very much a talking about conspiracy theories, very much talking about alternative theories. Brittany has always likes to delve into like the UFOs, aliens, the Titanic. We talked about that as well, and yeah, it's quite an interesting show. And of course, I always add my little bit of knowledge and you'll hear in an episode very soon. You'll hear about what I've been up to and the sort of things I've sort of learnt and know along the path, along my way. So Brittany and Boggs One Step Beyond is another one of the shows that will appear on a Monday. And then there is another one, because of what I do lots of varied stuff. I'm a Qigong practitioner, a Tai Chi practitioner, I do massage, I do energy work, which is Reiki, but it's also Shun Qi Shen, which is Chinese Reiki, Tahiti, which is an ancient form of Reiki, predates Reiki. And there's certain skills. I'm a barefoot doctor, I'm a dragon dog shaman, I'm a bit of a cloud whisperer, I'm a little bit of a drunken Daoist that doesn't actually contain alcohol. And these skills I will talk about on the Saturday show, which we'll talk about in a minute. But on that path, there is a wonderful woman that I met called Denise Chadwick. and she actually does light language. And now how I studied it is actually called light code. So light code means, and we sort of mentioned this on the show, light code is light language, but it's also artwork. It's also could be music. And now, because I've always said, when you listen to art, musicians in the past or artists, quite a few of them who created like wonderful masterpieces would say, I channeled it, it sort of appeared, it's not really mine, it sort of came to me, this information came to me. So for me, this is why it was always taught as light code. The code comes in different ways. It can come in language, it can come in song, it can come in artwork. And Denise herself, she does language, but she also does this artwork, this wonderful, powerful artwork that she does with it. And what happened was that I interviewed her originally, and then what happened was that we ended up creating a show, a monthly show, a bit like me and Doc and me and Pretty. We created Denise Chadwick and Sifu Boggie's, I've forgotten the name of the show now. Give me a second. Light Code Discussions. That's what it was called. See, I knew what to remember. So yes, Light Code Discussions. And again, that's another show that will be on a Monday. So Monday's a little bit of a hodgepodge of. It's sort of like like reinventing what's left over and bringing it up. So on a Monday, there's lots of, you'll get some interviews, so I'll interview different people, and you'll hear my take on what they do as well, my sort of viewpoints on what they do, and that is the show for the main title of this podcast, The Way of Conscious Mindfulness. But then you'll also get, on a Monday, you'll get Brittany and Boggs One Step Beyond, which is sort of conspiracy sort of information, UFOs and aliens and that sort of thing. But also, intermittently, you'll get the shows Doc and Sifu's Monthly Ponderings. And, we've had some very interesting, very spiritual ones. We've had a quite deep one where we talked about, we actually talked about depression and suicide. Something you'll hear when you on the Saturday one, you'll hear about my life story, and part of like I tried to commit suicide when I was a kid, and my journey into that. And so we've had shows like that, and also in the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, we also had shows where we actually I talked to Melody Black, who was a woman who was actually gang raped, and her process through that, and how she actually ended up forgiving them to allow her to move on. And so, I've had some very light-hearted shows, and I've had some very deep shows, and some, very powerful shows. So on the Monday, you will get these sort of shows. You will get The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, which it tends to be a talk show with a Daoist twist. Remember, the Tao means the way, the path to balance. You'll also be able to hear and listen to Doc and Sifu's Monthly Ponderings. This is where we open up and we talk about our perspectives and a little bit of our past as well, and sort of mingle the two to give you techniques as well to help you help yourself. Brittany and Boggs were a bit of the conspiracy, a little bit of the alternative theories. Denise Chadwick and myself, Sifu Boggie's Light Code Discussions. See, I remembered the title now, which always helps, especially when it's your own show. And that is very much about light language and talking about light language and actually having it as well in different forms, because the dragon dog shaming light language is I find quite different, quite unusual to some of them, very much so. So that was what is happening on a Monday. On these Mondays will be a variation of different shows, little snippets, a whole show, but a little taste of different things, and things to spark your interest into the world, and give you almost like a red pill, maybe a reddy bluey pill with a little bit of purple flecks, Boggie humour. But the whole idea is to, you know, give you a little bit of taste, not just the same thing, but different things with that Daoist twist, that Daoist flavour. Then on a Saturday will be a show, a very much different show to those ones. Very far, very far more, very much a show about the Tao and myself. So it will be, the show is sit down with Sifu on a Saturday. So yes, on sit down with Sifu on a Saturday, the Saturday show, that podcast is more about me, the Daoist viewpoint, the Qigong viewpoint, the Dragon Dog Shame viewpoint, and it will be an ongoing podcast on the Saturday with a slightly different flavour. Like I say, the other ones will be mixtures of me and other people. The Saturday one will be more about the Daoist viewpoint, the Qigong viewpoint, the Tai Chi viewpoint, the Sifu Boggie viewpoint. Now, there will be occasionally some special guests, and they will ask me questions. And they will sort of give me the opportunity to, rather than just ramble on, they'll actually ask me a pinpointed question. Now, what I'll also say is that if you have any questions that you're interested in, you can message me on, you look onto Linktree/Sifu Boggie, and you can find me there. You can also find me on Instagram. You can also find me on YouTube. So on Instagram, it's sifu.boggie. On Instagram. On YouTube, it's just Sifu Boggie. On Linktree, you'll find me, Sifu Boggie. So link.tree /Sifu Boggie. You'll find it there. But all these links will be down below as well to be able to find. And you can actually ask me a question if there's a certain thing that you want to know. You can ask me a question on. One of my famous lines is Qigong. Qigong is very good for, if you've got a headache, there's Qigong for that. If you start suffering from chronic pain, from fibromyalgia, from ME, MS, if you've got a bad back, if you've got a sore foot, if you want to improve your backhand in tennis, if you want to improve your ice skating abilities, guess what? I got a Qigong for that. So, there is sort of that side. You could sort of ask me some Qigongs, and as it's a podcast, that will be a little bit sort of difficult to sort of express as such, but there was definitely some techniques or some reflexology techniques that I can give you and help you in that way. But if you're interested in the Daoist philosophy in general, and my Dao, the Dao I practice is called the Living Dao. So there are many different styles of Taoism within Taoism, and the Living Dao is very practical. It's very much about using all of these techniques in your everyday life. It is something that for the last 39 years, it will be 40 years near the end of the year, but for the last 39 years, I've been very much living these skills, living this art, living my personal Dao, my way, my path, my balance. So on a Saturday, on that show on the Saturday, sit down with Sifu on a Saturday. That is very much about those sort of techniques, those skills. And like I said, there will be some special guests who will actually help me ask me those questions. But also, like I say, find me on YouTube, find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, on the page, the Way of Conscious Mindfulness page. And if you've got a question, say podcast, sit down with Sifu on a Saturday, or just podcast and question and ask your question, and I'll happily do a podcast on it and answer it. So this is like I said, this is episode number 1. So the Monday one, this is the first one, but it's more about what's going to happen in the future. So there will be the Way of Conscious Mindfulness shows, where they're interviews with other people, but coming from a Daoist point of view, the philosophical, the Eastern point of view way as well. There's also on a Monday the shows Doc and Sifu's monthly ponderings, which is more spiritual, and it's me and Doc, me and Joseph Delaney, Dr. Delaney, talking about different stuff and opening up our viewpoints and our understandings of life, the universe, and everything. Then you have Brittany and Boggs, One Step Beyond, which is a slightly more of a conspiracy show, talking about aliens and UFOs and other things of that nature. Then Denise Chadwick and Sifu Boggie's light code discussions, which is about light language, but goes beyond that, with, for me, called light code, and there's actually a qigong for that, funny enough. And then on the Saturday version, so these will all be on the Monday. The Saturday version is sit down with Sifu on a Saturday, and that's far more about what I do, far more about the Tai Chi stuff and the Qigong stuff and the reflexology stuff and the Dragon Dog Shaman stuff and the Barefoot Doctor stuff and the Cloud Whisperer stuff and the Drunken Taoist stuff, and so on and so forth. So I'm hoping this tweaks your interest, this intrigues you. It may sound a little bit confusing. I know I do a lot of things, but the whole idea is that there's something for everybody. There's a little bit that can interest you. So, there's different varied shows on the Monday, and then on the Saturday, it's more about the Taoist stuff and about the me stuff. So I hope to see you soon in the future, and I'm looking forward to it. So take care. Bye for now. Love, chi, and shen from myself, Sifu Boggie, and the Way of Conscious Mindfulness podcast. Until next time, bye for now.